There's a question I hear often from people who are a few years out from retirement, or maybe already in it, and it goes something like this. I have a decent 401k. Why would I need anything else? It's a fair question, and the answer isn't really about tax strategy, at least not primarily. There are actually 8 very real, very practical reasons why having your money spread across different types of accounts, a traditional IRA or 401k, a Roth, and a taxable brokerage, can change the entire texture of your retirement experience, not just your tax bill, the way your retirement actually feels day to day. Let's walk through each one. Let me be straightforward about something. Holding multiple accounts won't stop a bear market from happening. Markets will do what markets do, but where your money is housed, what planners call asset location, absolutely shapes your ability to respond without panic. Here's what I mean. If you keep some portion of your savings in a money market fund or short-term bonds sitting in a taxable brokerage account, that becomes your cushion, a place you can draw from when equity markets are falling without touching your long-term accounts. Now layer in the fact that you have multiple account types. You might say, markets are down this year. I'll pull from my brokerage money market and leave my Roth completely alone. I want that growing tax-free for later. Or maybe you've intentionally kept some conservative, lower volatility assets inside your traditional IRA, specifically so those dollars can be tapped in a down year without forcing you to sell equities. Same bear market, completely different experience depending on whether you have options. Now, is it ideal to park all your cash in a tax-deferred account? Generally, no. You'd rather use those tax advantage spaces for assets that benefit most from their sheltered growth. But some strategically placed, accessible money in the right account gives you breathing room when the market tests your patience. Your asset allocation shapes your risk. Your account diversification shapes your choices. Together, they reduce what's called sequence of returns risk, the very real danger of having to sell investments at a loss early in retirement just because you have no other place to turn. Every account type has its own rulebook, and those rules matter most when life doesn't cooperate with your schedule. A taxable brokerage account has no age requirements. You can access it at 45 or 55, or any time without restriction. A traditional IRA or 401k is generally off limits before age 59 and a half without triggering a penalty, unless you qualify for specific exceptions like the Rule of 55 or a 72.T distribution plan. A Roth IRA gives you something unique. Your contributions, not earnings, but the money you actually put in, can be withdrawn at any time without taxes or penalties. The earnings portion becomes fully accessible after 59 and a half, assuming your Roth has been open for at least 5 years. Why does this matter in practice? Because your roof doesn't care how old you are when it leaks. Your car doesn't wait until you're 60 to break down. Life happens on its own timeline. If your entire retirement savings sits inside a single traditional 401k, even a well-funded one, every single withdrawal, whether it's a planned monthly draw or an emergency repair, adds to your ordinary taxable income. Everything goes through the same funnel. But if you have a brokerage account alongside a Roth, you have real choices. A $9,000 roof repair could come from the brokerage. A $5,000 gift to a child during a tough moment could come from Roth contributions you've already paid taxes on. You're not raiding your retirement. You're using the right tool for the right situation. That's not sophisticated tax wizardry. That's just having access to your own money when you need it. This one doesn't show up in any projection model, but it may matter more than anything else on this list. Retirees who enter retirement with a single traditional 401k, even a well-funded one, frequently describe a quiet anxiety about spending. Every withdrawal feels significant. Every dollar out is a permanent reduction to the only pile they have. That psychological weight is real. Now, compare that to someone who has a brokerage account they use for near-term and day-to-day needs, a Roth they're intentionally preserving for legacy or late-life flexibility, and a traditional IRA they're drawing from in a tax-efficient way, perhaps filling up a lower bracket each year. These retirees don't describe feeling trapped. They describe feeling like they have a plan. Behavioral finance research has consistently shown that when people feel they have genuine options, they make steadier, more rational decisions. They're less likely to panic solve, less likely to either overspend or underspend. Having a mental map of what each account is for creates clarity, and clarity is calming. It's not just a math strategy, it's an emotional foundation. Different types of spending naturally pair with different account types. Once you see this, it's hard to unsee it. Lump sum, irregular expenses, a new roof, a car replacement, a major home repair, these fit well in a taxable brokerage. You might sell some appreciated assets in a year when your income is lower, or take advantage of tax loss harvesting if available. Long-term or legacy goals, money you hope to leave to your children, your grandchildren, or simply preserve for much later in life, this pairs naturally with your Roth. The tax-free growth compounds over time, and if you never need to touch it, it grows completely undisturbed. Your predictable monthly income, what essentially functions as your retirement paycheck, can often be funded through traditional IRA or 401k. Done thoughtfully, you can calibrate those draws to stay within a specific tax bracket each year, which is its own form of planning. The shift in mindset is small but meaningful. Instead of asking, where should I pull money from this year, start asking, what am I trying to fund, and which account was built for this? That question leads to far better answers. The account types you pass on to your heirs carry very different consequences for them. A Roth IRA is often the most thoughtful asset you can leave behind. Under current law, your heirs will need to empty the account within 10 years of inheriting it, but those withdrawals are generally federal income tax free. If your child is in their peak earning years when they inherit, a Roth doesn't pile on to their existing income. It arrives quietly. Taxable brokerage accounts also carry a significant advantage at death, the step-up in basis. This effectively resets the cost basis of inherited assets to their fair market value at the time of your passing, which can eliminate decades of embedded capital gains. This makes taxable accounts surprisingly efficient to transfer. Traditional 401ks and IRAs tell a very different story. Your heirs are required to withdraw the full balance within 10 years of inheriting, and every dollar they take out is taxed as ordinary income on top of whatever they're already earning. For a child in their 40s or 50s at the height of their career, inheriting a large traditional IRA can mean a substantial, unavoidable tax bill at exactly the wrong time. If you head into retirement with the majority of your wealth in a traditional account and no other options, you may be unintentionally passing a tax burden to the people you love. Diversification isn't just about your retirement, it gives your heirs greater flexibility and a more tax-efficient inheritance. Most people don't retire and immediately have all their income streams turn on at once. You might leave work at 61, delay Social Security until 68 or 70, and not face required minimum distributions until your early 70s. That gap, sometimes 5, 7, or even 10 years, is often called the bridge period. If your only source of funds is a traditional IRA or 401k, you can make it work, but you're operating with limited flexibility. Your income is fully taxable, and every draw gets counted. But if you come into those years with a taxable brokerage account, those bridge years become an opportunity. You can live primarily off your brokerage from, say, 61 to 67, while your taxable income stays relatively low. That creates an ideal window for Roth conversions, moving money from your traditional IRA into your Roth at a modest tax rate before Social Security and RMDs push your income back up. You're lowering future RMDs, reducing future taxes, and building more flexibility in your later years. And if early retirement, before 59 and a half, is something you're working toward, A taxable brokerage account isn't just useful, it's essentially required. It's the only retirement-adjacent account with no age restrictions and no penalty structure. Without it, retiring in your 50s becomes significantly more complicated. Having all three account types going into your bridge years gives you the ability to shape those years, to make intentional decisions rather than reactive ones. Your retirement accounts don't just interact with the IRS. They interact with several other systems that will affect your financial life, some in ways that catch people completely off guard. Medicare premiums, for instance, are income-based. If your modified adjusted gross income crosses certain thresholds, you'll pay IRMA surcharges, sometimes several $100s more per month. Large traditional IRA withdrawals drive MAGI up, which can push you into a higher Medicare premium tier. If you retire before Medicare eligibility at 65 and purchase coverage through the ACA marketplace, your premium subsidies depend on your projected income. Large capital gains from a taxable account in any given year can reduce or eliminate those subsidies. Roth withdrawals, by contrast, don't count toward MAGI at all. They're invisible to Medicare calculations, ACA subsidies, and many other income-sensitive determinations. When all your money lives in a single account type, you have one lever, and every pull of that lever affects everything simultaneously. When you have multiple account types, you can be deliberate. You can draw from the account that keeps your reported income where you want it. Income control isn't a tax trick, it's a form of financial fluency that protects you across multiple systems at once. And finally, this is perhaps the most personal reason of all. Retirement isn't a single chapter. For most people, it spans several distinct phases, more active and experiential in the 60s, perhaps slower and more home-centered in the 70s, and then focused on comfort and care in the 80s and beyond. Your spending needs and desires shift over time, and your plan should be able to shift with them. Maybe you want to take a meaningful trip with your adult children and grandchildren while everyone's health and energy allows. Maybe you want to help a child make a down payment on a home. Maybe you want to give generously to a cause that's mattered to you your whole life. Maybe there's a year when the market drops, and you simply want to avoid withdrawing from your portfolio at all. Just wait. If everything you have is locked inside a single traditional account, every one of those decisions has a cost. Every one becomes complicated. But if you have multiple levers, a brokerage for flexible spending, a Roth for legacy and selective use, a traditional for structured income, then you're not managing a withdrawal strategy, you're designing a life. That's the real meaning of tax diversification. It's not about optimizing a spreadsheet, it's about having the freedom to respond to your own life as it unfolds. When you step back and look at all 8 of these reasons together, a clear picture emerges. The people who tend to navigate retirement with the least financial stress and the lowest lifetime tax burden aren't necessarily those who saved the most. They're often those who gave themselves the most options. A mix of all 3 buckets, traditional, Roth, and taxable brokerage, doesn't mean you have to have them perfectly balanced. It means you're not locked into a single set of rules when life asks something unexpected of you. Take a moment to reflect on where your own savings currently live. Is the majority concentrated in one account type? And if so, are you comfortable with the constraints that comes with? That's a genuinely useful question to sit with, and possibly to bring to a financial planner who can help you think through the transition. If this conversation opened up something worth exploring, I'd encourage you to share it with someone you know who's in a similar season of life. And if you have thoughts or questions of your own, leave them in the comments. I read them and I find them genuinely useful for shaping future conversations. I'll see you in the next one.